Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service of personality Godhead is praise of transcendental songs. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Praying for the mercy of my spiritual master and all the Vaishnavas. Vanchakalpa tubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha pritanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So today we are covering 57 verses in the Bhagavatam. We're doing this whole chapter, which is kind of a lot. This chapter is the battle between the demigods and the demons. And so I think we can pass around the mic and everyone can read 5 verses. That way it doesn't take so long. I heard the audiobook of this chapter last night and it only took them 20 minutes to read this whole chapter. So I think we can do it. And there's only 3 purports, and I think we can read all 3 of those purports because they're very short in this chapter. Does anyone have the microphone? Vaishnav, could you get the microphone? So, let's see. We were hearing last time about the incarnation of Mohini Murti and that pastime with Rahu and the churning of the milk ocean. So this is the aftermath of that. Vaishnav, could you read these texts? Or Mishra Bhagavatam?
Text 1. Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, the demons and daityas all engaged with full attention and effort in churning the ocean. But because they were not devotees of Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, they were not able to drink the nectar.
You can read 5 texts, because there's so many texts, it'll take the whole class if we pass it.
O king, after the Supreme Personality of Godhead had brought to completion the affairs of churning the ocean and feeding the nectar to the demigods, who are his dear devotees, he left the presence of them all and was carried by Garuda to his own abode. Seeing the victory of the demigods, the demons became intolerant of their superior opulence. Thus they began to march toward the demigods with raised weapons. Thereafter, being enlivened because of drinking the nectar, the demigods, who were always at the shelter of the lotus feet of Narayan, used their various weapons to counterattack the demons in a fighting spirit. O king, a fierce battle on the beach of the ocean of milk ensued between the demigods and the demons. The fighting was so terrible that simply hearing about it would make the hair on one's body stand on end.
Jai, thank you. You can pass it to the next devotee. And this section, it's one of my favorite sections, kind of for a strange reason, but it's so cool. We're going to hear a description of, personally, one of my, it's just a very cool scene that happens. We have the demigods and the demons, and they're riding on all these kinds of animals. We're going to read about all of that. And they're fighting on the shore of the ocean of milk. So here's a nice little painting by one of the devotees of the BVT. So we can get back to the texts.
Text 6. Both parties in the fight were extremely angry at the heart, and in enmity they beat one another with swords, arrows, and varieties of other weapons.
So this verse has a purport, so you can read the purport for this too.
There are always 2 kinds of man in this universe, not only on this planet, but also in the higher planetary systems. All the kings dominating planets like the sun and moon also have enemies like Rahu. It is because of occasional attacks upon the sun and moon by Rahu that eclipses take place. The fighting between the demons and demigods is perpetual. It cannot be stopped unless an intelligent person from both sides take to Krishna consciousness.
Jai. The fighting between demigods and demons is perpetual. It cannot be stopped unless both sides take to Krishna consciousness. We'll talk a little more about that. Please continue.
The sounds of the conchs, bugles, drums, varies, and tamaris, kettle drums, as well as the sound made by the elephants, horses, and soldiers who were both on chariots and on foot, were tumultuous. On that battlefield, the charioteers fought with the opposing charioteers, the infantry soldiers with the opposing infantry, the soldiers on horseback with the opposing soldiers on horseback, and the soldiers on the back of elephants with enemy soldiers on elephants. In this way, the fighting took place between equals. Some soldiers fought on the back of camels, some on the back of elephants, some on the asses, some on white-faced and red-faced monkeys, some on the tigers and some on lions. In this way, they all engaged in fighting.
You can read this text too.
O king, some soldiers fought on the back of vultures, eagles, dogs, hawks, and vasa birds. Some fought on the backs of timingilas, which can devour huge whales, some on the back of saravas, and some on the buffaloes, rhinoceroses, cows, bulls, jungle cows, and arenas. Others fought on the back of jackals, rats, lizards, rabbits, human beings, goats, black deers, swans, and boars. In this way, mounted on animals of the water, land, and sky, including animals with deformed bodies, both armies faced each other and went forward.
Yes, this is why I love this section so much. It's because in our modern day society, we're trying to create so much fantasy and drama and entertainment, and we have people in these robot suits fighting and all this nonsense. But if we look at the Bhagavatam, this is like the coolest battle you could ever imagine. They're fighting on timingilas, which can devour huge whales, and so there's no need to go outside to find our some people have this attraction to these stories of fighting evil and things like that. We can look to the Bhagavatam and see these fantastic battles. Next reader, please.
O king, O descendant of Maharaj Pandu, the soldier of both demigods and demons, but decorated by canopies, colorful flags and umbrellas with handles made of valuable jewels and pearls. They were further decorated by fans made of peacock feathers and by other fans also. The soldiers, their upper and lower garments waving in the breeze, naturally looking very beautiful, and in the light of the glittering sunshine, their shields, ornament, and sharp, clean weapons appeared dazzling. Thus the ranks of soldiers seemed like two oceans with bands of aquatics.
Right, thank you.
For that battle, the most celebrated commander-in-chief, Maharaj Bali, son of Virochana, was seated on a wonderful airplane named Vaiha Yasa. O king, this beautifully decorated airplane had been manufactured by the demon Maya and was equipped with weapons for all types of combat. It was inconceivable and indescribable. Indeed, it was sometimes visible and sometimes not. Seated in this airplane under a beautiful protective umbrella and being fanned by the best of chamaras, Maharaj Bali, surrounded by his captains and commanders, appears just like the moon rising in the evening, illuminating all directions.
Jai. This is such a wonderful description. It's Maharaj Bali is like he's like a supervillain, and he has such a wonderful airplane. And we look at our crude technology nowadays, we think we're so advanced. We have like these different bombs, these different things, but do we have these airplanes which can go invisible and reappear, and so many wonderful things that it's inconceivable, Maharaj Bali's opulence and his power. So he's kind of like the supervillain here. Next, please.
Surrounding Maharaj Bali on all sides were the commanders and captains of the demons, sitting on their respective chariots. Among them were the following demons: Namuchi, Shambara, Bana, Viprachitti, Ayomukha, Dvimurdha, Kalanaba, Praheti, Heti, Ilvala, Shakuni, Bhuta Shantapa, Vajra Damstra, Virochana, Hayagriva, Shankushira, Kapila, Megadundubi, Taraka, Chakradrik, Shumba, Nishumba, Jamba, Utkala, Arishta, Arishtanemi, Tripuradipa, Maya, the sons of Puloma, the Kalayas, and Nivatavacha. All of these demons had been deprived of their share of the nectar and had shared merely in the labor of churning the ocean. Now they fought against the demigods, and to encourage their armies they made a tumultuous sound like the roaring of lions, and blew loudly on conch shells. Balabit, Lord Indra, upon seeing this situation of his ferocious rivals, became extremely angry. Sitting on Airavata, an elephant who can go anywhere and who holds water and wine in reserve for showering, Lord Indra looked just like the sun rising from Udayagiri, where there are reservoirs of water. Surrounding Lord Indra, king of heaven, were the demigods seated on various types of vehicles and decorated with flags and weapons. Present among them were Vayu, Agni, Varuna, and other rulers of various planets along with their associates. The demigods and demons came before each other and reproached one another with words piercing to the heart. Then they drew near and began fighting face to face in pairs.
O king, Marajbali fought with Indra, Kartikeya, and Taraka, Varuna with Heti, and Mitra with Praheti. Yamaraj fought with Kalanaba, Vishvakarma, with Maya Danava, Twasta, and Shambhara, and the sun god with Virochana. The demigod Aparajita fought with Namuchi, and two Ashwini Kumara brothers fought with Vrishaparva. The sun god fought with 100 sons of Maharaj Bali, headed by Bana. The moon god fought with Brahu. The demigod controlling air fought with Puloma. And Shumba and Nishumba fought the supremely powerful material energy Durga Devi, who is called Bhadrakali.
Wow.
O Maharaj Parikshit, suppressor of enemies, Arindama, Lord Shiva fought with Jamba, and Vibhavasu fought with Mahisasura. Ilvala, along with his brother Vatapi, fought the sons of Lord Brahma. Durmarsa fought with Cupid. The demon Utkala with the Matrika demigoddesses. Brihaspati with Shukracharya, and Shaneshwara Saturn with Narakasura. The Maruts fought Nivatakavacha. The Vasus fought with Kalakaya demons. The Vishvadeva demon fought with Puloma demons, and the Rudras fought with Krodavasha demons, who fought their victims of anger.
All of these demigods and demons assembled on the battlefield with a fighting spirit and attacked one another with great strength. All of them desiring victory, they fought in pairs, hitting one another severely with sharpened arrows, swords, and lances. They severed one another's heads using weapons like bushundis, chakras, clubs, rishtis, patishas, shaktis, ulmukas, prasas, parashvatas, nistrimshas, lances, parigas, mudgaras, and pindipalas. The elephants, horses, chariots, chariotees, infantry, soldiers, and various kinds of carriers, along with their riders, were slashed to pieces. The arms, thighs, necks, and legs of the soldiers were severed, and their flags, bows, armor, and ornaments were torn apart. Because of the impact on the ground of the legs of the demons and demigods and the wheels of the chariots, particles of dust flew violently into the sky and made a dust cloud that covered all directions of outer space as far as the sun. But when the particles of dust were followed by drops of blood being sprinkled all over space, the dust cloud could no longer float in the sky.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada has a purport on this verse, so we can read it.
The cloud of dust covered the entire horizon, but when drops of blood sprayed up as far as the sun, the dust cloud could no longer float in the sky. A point to be observed here is that although the blood is stated to have reached the sun, it is not said to have reached the moon. Apparently, therefore, as stated elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam, the sun, not the moon, is the planet nearest the earth. We have already discussed this point in many places. The sun is first, then the moon, then Mars, Jupiter, and so on. The sun is supposed to be, can someone say the number?
93 million.
miles above the surface of the earth, and from Srimad Bhagavatam we understand that the moon is miles above the sun. Therefore, the distance between the earth and the moon would be about miles. So if a space capsule were traveling at the speed of 18,000 miles per hour, how could it reach the moon in 4 days? At that speed, going to the moon would take at least 7 months. That a space capsule on a moon excursion has reached the moon in 4 days is therefore impossible.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What a wonderful purport. Talking about how the blood sprayed up as far as the sun. That's crazy, right? That's quite... yeah, that's the scale of this battle, was that the blood sprayed up to the sun. But Srila Prabhupada uses this to make a point that the sun is actually closer than the moon is. So, very interesting. Next verse, please.
In the course of the battle, the war field became strewn with the severed heads of the heroes, their eyes still staring and their teeth still pressed against their lips in anger. Helmets and earrings were scattered from these severed heads. Similarly, many arms decorated with ornaments and clutching various weapons were strewn here and there, as there were many legs and thighs which resembled the trunks of elephants. Many headless trunks were generated on that battlefield. With weapons in their arms, those ghostly trunks, which could see with the eyes in the fallen heads, attacked the enemy soldiers.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada has a purport. I'll just read it quickly. It appears that the heroes who died on the battlefield immediately became ghosts, and although their heads had been severed from their bodies, new trunks were generated. And these new trunks, seeing with the eyes in the severed heads, began to attack the enemy. In other words, many ghosts were generated to join the fight, and thus new trunks appeared on the battlefield. Wow. So
Maharaj Bali then attacked Indra with 10 arrows and attacked Airavata, Indra's carrier, with 3 arrows. With 4 arrows, he attacked the 4 horsemen guarding Airavata's legs, and with 1 arrow, he attacked the driver of the elephant. Before Bali Maharaj's arrows could reach him, Indra, the king of heaven, who was expert in dealing with arrows, smiled and counteracted the arrows with arrows of another type known as Bala, which were extremely sharp.
When
you can
Bali
read
Maharaj,
5. You can read 5.
When Bali Maharaj saw the expert activities of Indra, he could not restrain his anger. Thus he took up another weapon known as Shakti, which blazed like a great firebrand. But Indra cut that to pieces while it was still in Bali's hand. Thereafter, one by one, Bali Maharaj used the lance, prasha, tomara, rishtis and other weapons. But whatever weapons he took up, Indra immediately cut them to pieces. My dear king, Bali Maharaj then disappeared and resorted to demoniac illusions. A giant mountain generated from illusion and then appeared above the heads of the demigod soldiers. From the mountain fell trees blazing in a forest fire. Chips of stone with sharp edges like pricks also fell and smashed the heads of the demigod soldiers. Scorpions, large snakes, and many other poisonous animals, as well as lions, tigers, boars, and great elephants, all began falling upon demigod soldiers, crushing everything. O my king, many hundreds of male and female carnivorous demons, completely naked and carrying tridents in their hands, then appeared crying slogans, cut them to pieces, pierce them.
Can I add one comment to the one about the headless trunks?
Sure.
If you hear this conversation with Srila Prabhupada in 1974 in Bombay, Mr. Sethi, he was one of like the well-wishers of the devotees in Bombay who was helping protect the temple from the demons like Mr. Nair and others. And he would bring his revolver there and like have some pretty cool standoffs between the demons and the devotees. He was telling Srila Prabhupada that when you hear these descriptions, like in the Mahabharata, and hear also of the headless trunks running on the battlefield, he thought it was like far out when he first heard these things. But he said he personally saw this in one sort of battle he was in where someone got their head chopped off and kept running for a couple yards before the body fell over. So you can hear him talk about that with Srila Prabhupada. Fierce clouds harassed by strong winds then appeared in the sky. Rumbling very gravely with the sound of thunder, they began to shower live coals. A great devastating fire created by Bali Maharaj began burning all the soldiers of the demigods. This fire, accompanied by blasting winds, seemed as terrible as the Samvartaka fire, which appears at the time of dissolution. Thereafter, whirlpools and sea waves, agitated by fierce blasts of wind, appeared everywhere, before everyone's vision in a furious flood. While this magical atmosphere in the fight was being created by the invisible demons, who were expert in such illusions, the soldiers of the demigods became morose. O king, when the demigods could find no way to counteract the activities of the demons, they wholeheartedly meditated upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the creator of the universe, who then immediately appeared.
On text 54.
Okay, Hare Krishna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose eyes resemble the petals of a newly blossomed lotus, sat on the back of Garuda, spreading his lotus feet over Garuda's shoulders, dressed in yellow, decorated by the Kaustubha gem and the goddess of fortune, and wearing an invaluable helmet and earrings. The Supreme Lord, holding various weapons in his 8 hands, became visible to the demigods, Ashtabhuja. So this is Ashtabhuja Seva. As the dangers of a dream cease when the dreamer awakens, the illusions created by the jugglery of the demons were vanquished by the transcendental prowess of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as soon as he entered the battlefield. Indeed, simply by remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes free from all dangers. O king, when the demon Kalanemi...
Actually, this is our recitation verse, so we'll do the Sanskrit for this one. Thank you. Rishtva mride garuda vahami bhari vaha avidya shula mahni ahinod atakala nemi talilaya garuda murdhini patad grihitva Tena hanan ripasavaham arim tridisha. Please recite. Drishva mride garuda vahami bhari vaha Avidya shula mahino datakala nemi Talilaya garuda murjni patad grihitva Ena hanam nirpasava hamalinim shin Drishva mride garudam vahami bhari vaha Avidya shula mahinoda nakamimi Nilaya garuda murdni patad grihitva Tena hanam nirpasava hamai. Maybe one more. Vishva mride garuda vahami bhari vaha Avidya shula mahinoda takala nemi Tadilaya Garuda Murni Patad Grihitva. Nahanam Nipasava Hamarim. Thank you. So we're quite short on time, so we'll go to the translation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. O King, when the demon Kalanemi, who was carried by a lion, saw that Supreme Personality of Godhead, carried by Garuda, was on the battlefield, the demon immediately took his trident, whirled it, and discharged it at Garuda's head. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of the three worlds, immediately caught the trident, and with the very same weapon, he killed the enemy Kalanemi, along with his carrier, the lion. Purport. In this regard, Srila Madhvacharya says, Kalanem yadaya sarve karina nihatapi sukreno jitvita shanta punatenaiva patita. Kalanemi and the other demons were killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. And when Shukracharya, their spiritual master, brought them back to life, they were again killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And now we just have one more text here. I'll just read it quickly. Thereafter, the two very powerful demons named Mali and Sumali were killed by the Supreme Lord, who severed their heads with his disc. Then Malyavan, another demon, attacked the Lord with his sharp club. The demon, who was roaring like a lion, attacked Garuda, the Lord of the birds, who were born from eggs. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original person, used his disc to cut off the head of that enemy also. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 8th canto, 10th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Battle Between the Demigods and the Demons. Jai, we did it! So, this is a pastime. I thought it has a similarity to another pastime. Does anyone remember a pastime in which all these demons conjure these horrifying illusions and overwhelm the devotees? So Prabhu said Banasura, and then Lord Shiva was fighting Krishna because Banasura broke into the ladies' ashram. Okay, Krishna's son Aniruddha. Okay, Hare Krishna. I haven't studied that one. I was thinking of the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. When his brother was killed by the Yakshas, he was so angry he mounted a chariot and he drove off to battle with the Yakshas. And in the battle, he was killing hundreds of them, thousands of them. And when they started to lose, as demons tend to often do, they started using these illusions, these tricks. And they were very similar to the ones we read here, where gigantic tidal waves and lions and snakes breathing fire and these horrific figures with tridents. And this had overwhelmed Dhruva Maharaj. And he didn't know what to do. Similarly, like the demigods here, when they saw this, they were overwhelmed. And so the brahmanas who had accompanied Dhruva Maharaj to the battle, they told him, remember the Supreme Lord. And so he remembered the Supreme Lord, and immediately all the illusions had dissipated. So similarly in this battle, when the demigods were overwhelmed by the illusions of the demons, they were saved by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's what distinguishes the demigods and the demons, is that in times of trouble, the demigods take shelter of the Supreme Lord. This is a quite common theme we see many times in the Bhagavatam. And it's also meant to be prevalent in our own life, that there will be so many illusions that come up in our life to try to disturb us, to try to thwart us. Actually, in our society, you could say everything is so illusory. Many things that, very few things are what they appear to be. There's so much corruption in our society. There's so much falsehood, so much pretending. And as society advances, we're getting more and more illusion. AI is able to create so many wonderful illusions. So we can get distracted. We can get disturbed. We can get overwhelmed by the illusion of the material world. And so we need to, does anyone want to guess what do we need to do? Meditate on the Supreme Lord and surrender to Krishna. Krishna, he says that he will protect us. He will abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I will relieve you of all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So we don't have to be afraid in this material world when so many obstacles come before us. Yet we do have to keep in mind that, for example, right now, some of us are in our younger years and we feel like we can do anything. We can go here, go there, we can work 10 hours, we can drive, we can, make a living for ourselves, and we can do so much service, and sometimes we can feel like we are the controller, that we are able to save ourselves in a sense. We get this notion that, I can, by the prowess of my own service and my own meditation and things like that, I can save myself from this material world. But Krishna makes that very clear in the Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavad Gita, that this is not the case, that we can save ourselves. He says that this illusory energy, Maya, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So back to this point, there will be a time in our lives when we see that everything is changing. That's what the material world is everything changes with time. And so these bodies, which we think are so able now, which can do so much service, and we can play mridanga, and we can dance in kirtan, and we can do so many things with our body, eventually we're going to have a very, if we live to those ages, we'll have a frail body, perhaps, infirm, and we can't rely on these opulences which we once thought we had. And so, similarly, all our family members, they will be gone. All our friends, they will come into our life and they will also leave. We may switch services, we may switch temples, we may switch countries. And so, in the midst of all these changes, we have to remain grounded in our chanting of the holy names. We have to strengthen ourselves internally, because at some point all the externals are going to leave us, and all we will have left is that depth in our chanting that we have. I was thinking of the pastime of Draupadi. She was grabbed and dragged into the assembly, and they tried to tear her clothes off in front of the whole assembly of all the kings and all the warriors. And she was holding on herself. She didn't want to let go, because she still had a tinge of that propensity to defend ourselves, that propensity to think, I will protect myself in this situation. And she was calling out for Krishna, Krishna, help me. Yet it was only once she had let go, Krishna had appeared to protect her. So that is how we can look at our own lives, is that we need to become fully surrendered to the Supreme Lord and fully depend on His protection at all times. And then He will certainly come and save us. I was hearing from Andrew Peru, he was speaking about chanting the holy name, and he was saying that in this age of Kali, we hear Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. He says, in this age of Kali is actually Nam Ekam Sharanam Vraja, because Krishna is in His holy name. He's not in His holy names, He is His holy names. And in this age of Kali, the chanting of his holy names is our main method of deliverance. So we should surrender unto the holy names completely with faith and chant the holy names. And that is how we advance. And he went on further to say, Sharanam Vraja. So in our hearts we should go to Vrindavan. And when you go to Vrindavan and you enter the outskirts of Vrindavan, you offer out your obeisances and you roll in the dust. So what does this mean to roll in the dust? When we roll in the dust, we're humbling ourselves before we enter Vrindavan, before we enter Krishna's abode. We humble ourselves, and as we roll in the dust, we leave behind all our thoughts of our wealth, all our thoughts of our strength, all the thoughts of our power, and we humble ourselves to say, I am the insignificant servant of the servant of the servant of Lord Shri Krishna. When we roll in the dust on the outskirts of Vraja, we think that I'm not a Brahmana, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Shudra, nor am I a Brahmachari, a Grahastha, a Vanaprastha, or a Sannyasi. I am only the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, who is like an ocean of nectar and is always existing in universal brilliance. This is how Lord Chaitanya prayed. He prayed with this verse, Naham Vipro na Chanarapatir Napi Vaishyo na Shudro. So this is our mood, that we abandon these thoughts that we can control everything. We abandon these thoughts that my wealth can save me, my family can save me, my relationships in life can save me. And we simply say, I am the insignificant servant of Shri Shri Radha Kalachandji. And then we go to Vrindavan, and we go to Govardhan, and at Govardhan we abandon the false ego and try to surrender to Krishna. And then we see a few texts after, actually 4 texts after Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, abandon everything, surrender unto me. Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. He says that there's no one more dear to me than one who spreads this message of Bhagavad Gita. So that's the example of our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. He had gone to Vrindavan. He was living in Vrindavan. He would look out the window and see Srila Rupa Goswami's Samadhi. We hear that Srila Rupa Goswami's Samadhi is like the nexus. It's like the central point of the whirl of the lotus of the spiritual world. So Srila Prabhupada was at the highest point that you can possibly go to, living right by the Yamuna. Yet his mind was always on translating the Srimad Bhagavatam and following the instructions of his spiritual master. So our founder Acharya, he showed us the example that, yes, we go to Vrindavan, but beyond that, we try to make ourselves even more dear to Krishna by leaving Vrindavan. That's what Srila Prabhupada did, is he left Vrindavan to go to where? New York. Yeah, he went to one of the worst places you could possibly conceive of, the slums of New York, living in such hardship, living in utmost poverty. This is, if we read his diaries, he says that sometimes he goes to sleep and he's feeling pains from hunger, and he has to walk. In his room, it didn't actually have, I don't think it had a window, and it didn't have a toilet. It didn't have a place to cook either. So he would have to walk in the snow. It was written in the records that was one of the coldest years in New York. And Srila Prabhupada, in his little Indian slippers, he was walking in all of this snow just to take his bath in the morning. So this is what Srila Prabhupada did. He left Vrindavan to take on these austerities, to make himself dear to Krishna and Srimati Radharani, and to spread the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. This was Srila Prabhupada's example. So we're already pretty over time, so I can open it up for some discussion. Any comments, questions, reflections? Prabhupada Priya? Prabhu? Microphone.
Thank you. Just a really nice class. I was thinking about, you emphasized the point of Krishna's protection. And we see that here, that at the end of the day, it was Krishna who killed the demons, right? So, a little part of a verse came to mind that I think it's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Rupa Goswami says, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. So Avashya means, Prabhupada translates it, certainly. Certainly Krishna will protect you. And then I was teaching in Mayapur, Bhakti Shastri, and I had a Bengali woman in my class, and she said, in Bengali, Avashya means obviously. He said, obviously Krishna will protect you. And I was thinking, well, how is that obvious? And I was thinking, because if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, it's obvious. It's like again and again and again, like hundreds of times throughout Bhagavatam, Krishna's protecting, especially in 10th canto, Krishna's personal pastimes. He's protecting them all the time. And here he's protecting the demigods, and the demigods aren't even pure devotees. They have material desires, they have their ego, they have their issues. Sometimes they even, become a little antagonistic towards the Lord. But the Lord always protects them because they turn to Him. So what to speak of us? What to speak of devotees who are really practicing sadhana bhakti very sincerely, doing everything they can to try to please Krishna, to spiritually advance. Obviously, Krishna's going to protect, the scriptures make it very, they give us that reassurance by so many examples like this. I just thought of that.
Jai, thank you. Nice comment. You reminded me, well, first of all, we heard yesterday about how accepting Krishna as our only maintainer is one of the limbs of surrender. And I remember one time, there was some situation in the temple, and sometimes this happens where devotees have some disagreements or something like that. Or even with non-devotees, there might be some envious persons, like we heard about Mr. Nair from Prabhu. And this senior devotee, he told me that he heard from his spiritual master once when he was in kind of a quarrel. He says, it's Krishna and Balaram's job to kill the demons. The devotees don't kill the demons, actually. We leave that to Krishna and Balaram. We simply try to act in our best and most sincere place and leave it to Krishna. If Krishna wants to remove these obstacles, He will. So we can try to remain as humble devotees. We don't have to correct all the problems in ISKCON. We don't have to correct all the devotees. But Krishna is the one who, Krishna sorts out these things. Any other comments, questions?
To add something, since I have the mic. I was just, when you said that about the inner demons, lust, anger, greed, and so forth. So in Vrindavan, all the demons that Krishna kills and that Balaram killed represent different anarthas within the heart. And it's like we don't have the power to remove our anarthas, but Krishna and Balaram do it. So we just have to take shelter of them.
Sorry, just a small correction, if you don't mind. Because you were saying Srila Prabhupada, he was doing the austerity to make himself dear to Radha and Krishna. You already know this, but just like a wording thing.
Yeah.
But he's always dear to Radha and Krishna, like we see on the sign there with the translation of his pranam mantra. Or you hear that memory where, I forget who he was telling, one of his disciples, he's telling him that when he was in the spiritual world with Krishna, and then Krishna's telling him, you go there. Yeah, he was telling Bhavananda Prabhu that he was there with Krishna, and Krishna's telling him, you go to the material world, and he's saying, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. And he says, no, you go and you make your books, and I'll be there with you the whole time. So you already know that, just a wording thing.
Jai. What's up, bro?
We also say that Arjuna killed a lot of demons during Bhima, right? So sometimes it's not just Krishna Balaram who killed the demons.
Yeah.
So devotees also kill the demons.
Yeah, sometimes it's our duty to kill the demons under Krishna's order. Thank you. Any other final Prabhupada said, if we think we're the doer, we get in trouble. Jai. Yeah. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, we will break for breakfast prasadam. Jai. Thank you all very much. Vanchakalpa Tiribhascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Kanta Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Antakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai.